Greetings and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon. My name is Gennady Stoliarov II, and I am the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. Here we hold conversations with some of the world's leading thinkers in longevity, science, technology, philosophy, and politics. Like the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment, we aim to connect every field of human endeavor and arrive at new insights to achieve longer lives, greater rationality, and the progress of our civilization. Greetings and welcome to our U.S. Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of January 9th, 2022. I'm very pleased to bring this conversation to you today because there has indeed been ample popular demand for it within our community. This is our Virtual Enlightenment Salon on Transhuman Coin, and we're very pleased today to have the founding team of Transhuman Coin with us. But first, let me introduce our U.S. Transhumanist Party panel, because we have with us our Director of Visual Art, Art Ramon Garcia, who is also, by the way, involved in the Scientific Advisory Board for Transhuman Coin. We have our Northern California liaison, Celeste Castaldo, and we have our Legislative Director, Jason Geringer. So always a pleasure to have our officers and members present. And now let us introduce our guests. Peter Zing, of course, is familiar to many of you. He is our U.S. Transhumanist Party Foreign Ambassador in Australia. We held a great virtual enlightenment salon with him in July of 2020. He is a keynote speaker on transhumanism and emerging technologies, helping individuals and organizations navigate disruptive technology and innovation. Peter works on the strategy, design, and delivery of data analytics, machine learning, and automation projects to high growth and large multinational organizations. He is also the co-founder of Transhumanism Australia, a community of technologists who work in and create positive impact through emerging technologies. Peter speaks on transhumanism, artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, biotech, nanotech, health tech, and other emerging technologies, which help humans overcome the limitations of biology by augmenting and enhancing our intelligence, healthy longevity, and well-being. Also from South Africa, we have joining us Dr. Charles Awuzie, who is the CEO of Transhuman Coin, and he doubles as CEO of Africa's fast-growing technology and green energy giant, the Gemsbach Group. He is also a member of the Forbes Business Council. He studied biochemistry and then proceeded to train as an information security expert with special interest in digital forensics and incident response, penetration testing, endpoint protection, and mobile security. And he truly is one of Africa's best-known advocates of transhumanism. It is astonishing to me in terms of the work that he has been able to do to get the concepts of transhumanism to become familiar to many audiences in Africa. And then finally, we have Elise Su, who has co-founded 3 ventures, including a genomic data machine learning startup, a health startup, and Transhumanism Australia. She is also a startup mentor at CSIRO's On Science Tech Accelerator program, and she is a member of the Transhuman Coin development team. So welcome, Peter, Charles, Elise. It's an honor to have you all today. And I understand, Peter, you've prepared a special presentation for us. So please go ahead. You have the floor.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. You guys see this okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. And it is an honor and pleasure to be back again, Gennady, and so good to see the team. I've been really enjoying these enlightenment salons, especially the last one with David Wood. And it's great to see the growth you've made with the community. It's such an honor as well. So just some opening statements on Transhuman Coin. As you can see, our motto is investing in the future of humanity. And that's actually been selected by the Transhuman Coin community that we have on Telegram. So go check out on Twitter. It's hashtag Transhuman Coin. We're at Transhuman Coin. And there's a Telegram group called t.me/byTranshumanCoin. We can show you later after that. So I guess some opening statements around some of the questions that might be out there in the community around what is Transhuman Coin? Why does it exist? How does it work? How does it help the transhumanist movement? How will we grow this project? And who's part of the team? What are our roadmaps and milestones? And essentially, how do you buy Transhuman Coin? So we'll look to answer some of those questions in the salon and in the Q&A as well. But at a broad level, Transhuman Coin, if you think about cryptocurrencies, starting out with Bitcoin, that was sort of the original gangster of the cryptocurrencies, being a store of value at the moment, but it was thought of as a means of exchange as well. And then there was the added benefit of Ethereum, where you had smart contracts that enabled to program how these currencies actually can work, embedded with these centralized applications. And then there were these meme tokens. So, these dog coins, whether it's, the original Dogecoin, and then there was Shiba Inu, and there was Dogelon Mars and Floki Frank Puppy. It was just a crazy sort of explosion of these meme coins. But they really didn't have any intention of doing anything practical. It was just a joke done around these dogs and the Shiba Inus. So we thought, okay, why is this the case that, these meme coins are getting so much more attention and valuation? When it's all around a joke. And really, the transhumanist movement is where we want to bring the mnemonic value of cryptocurrencies to the entire movement. And we want to do it in a way so that it supports research and charity for the transhumanist movement. And that's how Transhuman Coin essentially was born. We are on the Binance Smart Chain, so it means that it's environmentally friendly, low transaction costs, and high volume of transactions. And also, things like Dogelon Mars, that started out as a joke, but when it got donated to Methuselah Foundation, it's actually now official charity currency for life extension. And, we looked at Shiba Inu, it's helping out the COVID relief fund. Transhuman Coin really, at the outset, is a research and charity-oriented token. And we want to accelerate the transhumanist movement through this way. So why does Transhuman Coin exist? We've got Dr. Charles Woozy here, who's the founder of Transhuman Coin, and at James Block Group, South Africa is where he's based on, and Africa is actually going through this quiet cryptocurrency revolution. I guess not so quiet now because we're seeing that explosion of activity. I mean, we're talking about crypto adoption in Nigeria of more than 32%. And there's just an entire ecosystem there where they've gone from mobile-first banking to crypto-first banking. And now the government of Nigeria has come up with their own central bank digital currencies to try to sort of stay competitive as a fiat currency, because the e-naira is a way to defend themselves against all this cryptocurrency activity that's starting to challenge the traditional the fiat sort of concepts of currencies itself. At the same time, we're seeing the transhumanist movement gather a lot of momentum in Africa, whether it's Singularity South Africa, where the McMahons of the world are growing that sort of executive level understanding of what is transhumanism, and the singularity and the concepts around the businesses that really looking at exponential technologies and AI and robotics and blockchain and biotech over there. And there's a whole growing community of transhumanists that's happening in Africa. And Charles can speak to more about his journey as well shortly. But there's just this sort of alignment of cryptocurrency and the transhumanist movement all happening, starting with Africa as our beachhead. And that's the broadest adoption of Transhuman Coin. And we're trying to accelerate that with cryptocurrency here. In terms of how Transhuman Coin works, really it has a maximum supply of 7 billion, and that idea is that 7 billion people, slightly more than that now, we want everyone to hold Transhuman Coin and be able to transact in Transhuman Coin all around the world. Essentially, there's a tokenomics that works with every transaction. So whether it's a buy, a sell, or a transfer of Transhuman Coin, 2% of every transaction goes to the existing holders. So you get rewarded for identifying as a transhumanist by holding Transhuman Coin. And that includes the fund wallet. And the fund wallet is where we make our donations to transhumanist projects and all the projects around the world, including USTP and all the transhumanist parties, as well as the transhumanist organizations that are doing the research in this space. We've also got 2% that goes to the liquidity pool so that it continues to grow liquidity and we can actually buy and sell and transfer out through the liquidity pool. And that's actually 100% locked and proven on the blockchain, so that there's no risks of things like rug pulls and things like that you see from these scam projects out there. And there's also 2% that goes to the marketing wallet, so we can continue to promote transhumanism all around the world. And this is kind of like all these tokenomics acts almost like a VAT, a value added tax on the transactions, and really the governance around it is for the transhumanist community. Essentially we make regular donations, and it's monitored by and approved by Scientific Advisory Board. And we'll go into the team of the Scientific Advisory Board shortly. We run regular community polls, like how the motto came about with investing in the future of humanity in our Telegram. The smart contracts verified on the Binance Smart Chain, and we do regular burns as well. So right now, the fund wallet represents about 7% of the total market value of the Transhuman Coin. We're at about, I think, 10 million Aussie right now in the market cap. And essentially, that is essentially going to continue to grow as we have more adoption of Transhuman Coin around the world. And that will have a significant impact on the transhuman projects as well. In terms of the projects we've already donated to, the first one was Lifespan.io, which is very well known throughout this transhumanist community. They're a crowdfunding platform for longevity projects, and they've done some amazing work over the years with Keith and the team. So we made a 10 million Transhuman Coin donation to them, and continue to support them through the likes of Tim Morpin's film directors around longevity films. We've made a donation to the Last Generation to Die movie. We've also made donations to FoxG1, and so this is a research foundation that's trying to solve FoxG1, which is a childhood disease that affects the brain development in children. So that's something that we want to solve through Transhuman Coin, and to get the support around the world. I've also made donations to a company by the name of GoGo Tech. This is an EV autonomous wheelchair company that's trying to help more than 500 million people out there that are in need of a wheelchair. So we can help people from disability into a super ability when they can connect things like their brain-computer interfaces as an API to their wheelchairs. So that's going to be a very exciting project that we're going to be endeavoring on. And we're also looking at making a direct investment as well to help do the revenue share of that sort of business through Transhuman Coin and the LLC. There's also amazing projects from the likes of the transhumanist parties all around the world, like US Transhumanist Party. There's Humanity Plus. We have Natasha Vita on the board, Mormon transhumanists as well. We're catching up with Lincoln Cannon next week, and also the International Longevity Alliance. And we're speaking to Methuselah Foundation and the Buck Institute and Vita DAO as well, which is another project around commercial IP on the blockchain. So really exciting partnerships we're looking to create. And the idea behind Transhuman Coin, essentially how we grow with that, is having Transhuman Coin on the balance sheet of every transhumanist organization around the world. Because it's almost like if you have Transhuman Coin on your balance sheet, it's a way to indicate that you support the transhumanist movement, but also as a way for the community to support your balance sheet as the cryptocurrency grows. So the value of the cryptocurrency Transhuman Coin can be on your balance sheet, just like Bitcoin that Tesla holds, and just like how MicroStrategy, Twitter, Square, and a whole bunch of companies that hold cryptocurrency on their balance sheet. We want to essentially grow with this, because the challenge is with these private funds, whether it's Longevity Vision Fund or Juvenescence, these startups that they hold in their portfolio, there's sort of a very limited access that retail investors or individuals in the community can support. And so the way we envision this Transhuman Coin is to be held on the balance sheet of every single one of these companies, whether it's in silico medicine or Juvenescence or, these startups like Biomass and Napa Therapeutics. We want them to hold Transhuman Coin so the community can support the values of their balance sheet as the companies grow. And this wouldn't be limited to private companies. It could go towards public companies like Intellia and CRISPR Therapeutics and Editas and Moderna and Pfizer and Unity Biotech, a whole raft of pillars of transhumanism, with whether it's super longevity or super intelligence, with Google DeepMind and OpenAI and Tesla and SpaceX around the world being fundamentally where we want to go as humanity. And Neuralink, that brain-computer interface that we've sort of all envisioned the future to be. So this is a way to support these projects, rather than just promoting on social media of, these awesome things that are happening in the world. We can actually have a financial incentive to support these projects. And so we started out, in August last year, and now we've grown to over 13,000 Transhuman Coin holders and counting. So we've been pushing it out on social media around these Transhuman hodlers. If you'd like to become a hodler, let us know. We can add you as a Facebook profile with these frames. But essentially, this is a very growing movement. And you can see we've started in the beachheaders in the African continents, but we've got really amazing support from the transhumanist community around the world. We've been doing sort of engaging marketing in the social media space, whether it's looking at, there's a few audios that's going on here. There's a lot of sort of memes that are out there. I won't go into too much detail about that, but so you can check it out on the hashtag Transhuman Coin on Twitter. In terms of the current management team, so myself, Charles, and Elise. So thanks for doing the introductions earlier, Kennedy. We've also, on the scientific advisory board, we've got Dr. Avinash Singh, who works at the University of Technology in Sydney. He's actually won the Google TensorFlow Award for setting the brain-computer interface standards with the IEEE, and he's chairing the scientific advisory board that approves the funding in which we make these transhuman project donations. So it's great to have the caliber of talent and the team that we have behind Transhuman Coin. We also have Zain Ma, Dr. Jabu, Dr. Tola. These are medical practitioners, people in the healthcare space that really know what they're doing in whether it's dermatology or chiropractics or medical practitioners. They actually help advise us to make sure we're doing the right thing with the donations as well. And of course, we have Art from the team, and also Jonathan Woods, who essentially is a risk specialist. So anything around things that we are doing from an operational risk, internal audit, technology risks, it's great to have him on board and his expertise around that as well. And also we have Dr. Jose and Dr. Natasha Vidamore. It's this amazing transhumanist leadership globally on our advisory board, and it's been a pleasure and honor to have their support since Transvision Madrid. It was such an honor to be speaking there as well with the team. So it was a great way to actually bring it out. We've got initiatives on the roadmap like NFTs. So we've already completed this THC NASA NFT drop. And really, this is the ticket to the metaverse. So the people that have bought this THC NASA will be getting continual benefits as well as airdrops and access to special events as well, with collaborations of the conferences that we're working with. We actually have future NFT projects coming out as well around the 13,000 holders that we have. We also have community-driven artworks that will be coming out as well. So we'll be auctioning these NFT artworks to support transhumanism and Transhuman Coin. This is from Jugnu from India. She's created this artworks with the transhumanism artworks that we wanted to support with NFTs. And these will be listed as well for sale soon. We've got an entire spatial XR space with the NFT galleries. These will be found on the links on our website. Essentially, this allows us to hold meetups and in the metaverse and be able to see all the Transhuman Coin holders, the community-driven transhumanist artworks, and also the THC, NASA, and other crypto NFTs coming out in this space. And also on the roadmap, we have these Transhuman Coin payments for freelancers and e-commerce. So Dr. Charles actually runs Sahara Skills, which is the Fiverr or the freelancer.com of Africa. And we're essentially enabling transhumanists to be able to receive Transhuman Coin for their services and also to sell their goods as well. So it's an e-commerce store that will have things like health monitoring devices and also the transhumanist books that are out by the amazing authors that are out there, including David's and Sergey's and David Sinclair and Transhumanist Wages and Natasha Vidamore's Transhumanist Reader. We want all of these to be listed on the e-commerce store and to help our leaders and the community earn Transhuman Coin, as well as looking at making their health monitored through these devices. So we've got some amazing things coming in the pipeline. And in terms of the roadmap, we'll continue to list Transhuman Coin on the centralized exchanges, on the major exchanges. We're currently already indexed on the CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko listings, and we also centralized listings on CoinsBit. And so you actually can access that. But in terms of where we're going in the future, we actually want to create this transhuman research center. So this is sort of virtual labs across the world. We also want to make it multi-chain. So multi-chain partnerships, not just on Binance Smart Chain, but Ethereum 2.0 and Pulse Chain, and collaborations across, these other projects around proof of humanity to help people earn a universal basic income to support the super well-being pillar. And a whole bunch of other networks that will be looking at proof of stake as well. So Avalanche, Harmony, Kusama, Solana, Cardano, and Singularity Net is also the collaborations we've got. In terms of how you buy Transhuman Coin, it's go to the website transhumancoin.finance, and you can see the Swift blockchain option where you can swap over 250 pairs of cryptocurrencies for Transhuman Coin. That's a sort of cross-chain solution. Doesn't matter which network you're on. It can be swapped for Transhuman Coin through this service. But also, if you prefer to go through centralized exchanges, go to CoinsBit, and you have to go through KYC. Or if you just prefer PancakeSwap and those DEXs, you can actually just go to PancakeSwap and swap BNB for Transhuman Coin there. So this Transhuman D Center, essentially where we want to be by 2023 next year. So essentially funding these decentralized virtual research labs in the metaverse across the universities and other organizations around the world to sort of have that physical presence through these existing labs, but also virtually to be able to do the research and support and get that sort of the talent that we have globally in these metaverses. So this is where we want to aim for next year. That's just a quick overview of Transhuman Coin. So you go check out transhumancoin.finance. This is our Telegram, t.me/buytranshumancoin. We're at Twitter, transhumancoin, and hashtag transhumancoin there as well. So I'll leave it to Elise and Charles to make some statements as well.
All right. Thank you. So, Elise, please proceed if you would like to go next.
I just wanted to say thanks for having us on the salon today, and thanks for the great presentation, Peter. So I just wanted to say that so with Transhuman Coin, it's been a real pleasure and a great journey over the last couple of months, especially with Charles and Jenny first founding the project in South Africa, and then later Peter and I joining. So since then, it's really been, for myself at least, it's really about been engaging our community. So for the last 7 to 8 years, we have built a transhuman community through our organization called Transhumanism Australia. And we built it up to a couple of thousand members. And so we have been able to use Transhuman Coin to be able to bring and get that existing community we built to rally around this. So we've been able to, I suppose, really bring the community together through the Transhuman Coin project. But what I found really surprising is that it's not just transhumanists that are interested in Transhuman Coin. I've literally had people come to me through work and say to me, this is a really awesome project. Just by reading about what we do, we're about supporting science and technology that helps us overcome limitations of human biology. And we want to be able to use Transhuman Coin to support research and charities around this. And they just say that they love it. So just by having this Transhuman Coin project, we've been able to onboard people who don't actually think of themselves as transhumanists, but they love the mission around this, that they actually have become holders and they want to support transhumanism. So we've been able to convert a lot of non-transhumanists just via Transhuman Coin.
Excellent. Thank you, Elise. And now let us go to Charles for his story about the founding of Transhuman Coin and what got him into the movement of transhumanism.
Thank you so much, Gennady, and thank you to the U.S. Transhumanist Party. First, I must say this, Gennady, you've done such an amazing job with the party. You've taken the party from not being known too much, it wasn't so popular, but I mean, with your leadership, it has really become such a global movement. So thank you for that great work, And with the Transhuman Coin, the idea was to create a kind of economic incentive, that would mint new transhumanists. First, in regions of the world where transhumanism was not or is not welcome or is not popular, And on what we've seen so far has been a massive adoption of the Transhuman Coin and the resultant embracing of transhumanism, especially in Africa here, where before now we've had people, who were just skeptical about transhumanism. They had some crazy ideas about transhumanism. They linked it to the 666, and to things like the Antichrist and all of those superstitious and religious ideologies. But what we've seen so far is with the Transhuman Coin project, they were more open, they are more open to the movement, to the transhumanism movement, and what has guided us all along is the passion to help more people embrace science and technology as a way to solve human problems, which hitherto was not possible to solve, and that passion created or gave birth to the project, to the Transhuman Coin project, and with the coming of Peter and Alice, it's been a massive growth all along, and the rest of the team, out from your team, Dr. Avinash, Jonathan Woods, and the rest of the SAB team, it's been such a great journey. From what Peter has shared earlier, it's obvious that we trying to bring the transhumanism community together through the Transhuman Coin project. We are not trying to create something that is just by itself, right? But a project that kind of brings the rest of the community together. And Peter had mentioned before that what we've seen before now had been just projects of communities mushrooming across the world, with some transhumanist agenda, but not really united, And the Transhuman Coin has been able to achieve some level of unity in that aspect. And on the tokenomics, we wanted to create a project that rewards holders. So Peter rightly stated that 2% of every transaction goes back to the holders, and that way, by just holding Transhuman Coin, you earn a 2% reward from every transaction, and that also includes the redistribution to the Transhuman Fund wallet, which funds our projects and our donations. And from my personal experience, being in the leadership of Transhuman Coin, I'm going to say it hasn't really been easy. It hasn't really been easy because a lot of people still consider cryptocurrency in general, not just Transhuman Coin, but cryptocurrency in general, as a scam. So we're trying to just push this idea out there that look, there is a lot of good things that crypto can help us do, and that's what we're trying to achieve. To do good with cryptocurrency, to tap into the market. It's over a $2 trillion market. That's massive, and tapping into that market would create an inflow of funds and finance to fund transhumanist projects, including transhumanism parties, including the USTP. The idea is we've seen some kind of we have great ideas, great movements, but because of some level of lack of funding, there hasn't been such a massive result. Politically speaking, we all know that there is a part that money plays in politics. Your political campaigns needs a lot of funding. Pushing or lobbying for policies in states or countries. It needs a lot of economic power. And that's what the Transhuman Coin exists to do for the transhumanism community, to bring that economic power to the movement. I think I'm going to just pause here and then allow the rest of the team to take up with the show.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles, for your remarks. And I think it's quite valuable for our audience to hear the perspectives of many individuals involved with the Transhuman Coin project and its motivations and its goals for the future. And along these lines, I would like to ask Art Ramon Garcia to comment on his role as part of the Transhuman Coin Scientific Advisory Board and what he has done there, what he has learned, and where this project intends to go forward as well.
I became a hodler of Transhuman Coin. And then I know there was positions for the SOB, and I decided to get on the scientific advisory board. And what I plan to do there is just provide as much input from the American transhumanist perspective to have the project succeed. And I'm very excited where it's going with like Dogotech, where we're actually becoming an investor. So we're going in directions where I don't think any other crypto coin has thought of doing. So we're going to be donating to research. We're going to be investing in commercial companies that have technology that's going to help in the transhumanist movement. So I'm excited to be there. It's a great team on the SOB, and I for one of the examples is I helped bring about that motto. We didn't have a motto. I go, hey, we need a motto. So I helped bring that about. My particular motto didn't get selected, but I helped bring that about. I helped bring about the decenter idea, having diversified or decentralized areas. I'm bringing more ideas as far as medical tourism in Costa Rica, where we can help with that. And I know people in Costa Rica, and we're going to invest in companies with longevity research. Well, eventually they're going to have that available, but you're still going to have the FDA like you have here in the US and the equivalent in other countries, and they're going to put up roadblocks. So we as Transhuman Coin want to work around that and create our own framework for medical tourism so that we can start getting longevity treatment to all of us. So I'm there to help out any way I can to get whatever ideas that aren't being thought of, and like I said, bring that American transhumanist perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you, Art Ramon. And now I think it would be good to go to a few comments and questions from the audience. First of all, I would like to highlight some good words from Ojachogwu Abdul, our foreign ambassador in Nigeria, who has some praise for Dr. Charles Owuzi. He writes, to Charles, your impact is really helping our dream to see transhumanism spread across Africa like wildfire on Harmattan grass. So thank you for those good words, Chogwu. And yes, I think transhumanism in Africa is a highly promising movement, and the growth has been just phenomenal. And I would like to echo the words of Peter and Elise when they pointed out that people who are attracted to just a few facets of the transhumanism movement through Transhuman Coin have essentially gotten their foot in the door, and now their minds are open to further transhumanist ideas and the ways in which they could transform the world. And our loyal viewer, John H., agrees with this. He points out that these new entrants don't have to buy the whole platform, just a few planks. And that's a foot in the door. That's a way for us to reach them further with additional transhumanist content like these virtual enlightenment salons. So here's an interesting question from Super Fin Guy. He asks, can you mine Transhuman Coin? And my understanding is the answer is no. The 7 billion supply is fixed from the onset. And the way you get Transhuman Coin is that you either buy it or you hold it and you get the 2% share, your proportionate share of all of the transactions. And I wonder if anyone from the Transhuman Coin team would like to expand upon that.
Yeah, I can go. So it's on the, thanks, Superfin Guy. It's on the Binance Smart Chain. So that network is a proof of stake authority consensus mechanism. So it's not like a proof of work where, Bitcoin and the current version of Ethereum, you have to waste a lot of energy to mine cryptocurrencies. What's great about, Binance Smart Chain is that it's, proof of stake authority, so you don't need to mine it. But yeah, it's it does sacrifice some like decentralization because there's some trusted validators across it. There is something that the other networks can provide more levels of decentralization. So we are looking at bridging to Ethereum, and Ethereum 2.0 when it becomes proof of stake will be even more powerful. But yeah, that's just the trade-off we have.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter, for that explanation. And of course, there have been a lot of concerns about the cost and environmental impact of proof of work cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and the fact that the energy expenditure for mining Bitcoin now exceeds the energy expenditures of certain small countries, and other cryptocurrencies based on the proof of stake mechanism avoid that problem, and people can still get rewarded according to an objective logic, and the supply can still be limited without requiring people to expend energy. And Super Fin Guy also thanks us for this answer. And now we have a question from Skip Siddiqui, our friend from the Washington, D.C. Transhumanist Party. He wonders about the prospects for payment with Transhuman Coin. Of course, you mentioned the store, you mentioned the NFT gallery. Any possibility of expanding that so that in addition to the holding, there's also robust circulation of it happening?
You can answer this one, Charles. I'll just say that, you can make payments right now with Transhuman Coin, just through your Trust Wallet or MetaMask. You can transfer in exchange for goods and services. But Charles.
Yeah. And we just about to launch our TSC e-store, which would sell books authored by transhumanists and personal medical supplies and medical equipments and life extension supplements. So yeah, you'll be able to buy Transhuman Coin on Transhuman Coin e-store with those. And we are in talks with some organizations to enable us to enable them accept payments in TSC. So I think that answers the question.
Yes, indeed, it does. And I'm pleased that there's this use case for Transhuman Coin, because one of the obstacles to the progress of Bitcoin has been that primarily people have been using it as a speculative investment of sorts. And of course, if one bought Bitcoin very early, one would have benefited spectacularly, but still 12 years after Bitcoin was introduced, we don't have a robust networks of transactions where people can actually buy goods and services with Bitcoin because the transaction fees are so expensive. But with Transhuman Coin, it seems to be a lot more feasible because you don't have this whole proof of work burden behind it. You don't have miners collecting $50 fees per transaction. Now we have an interesting question from David Wood. He asks, how might the forthcoming financial regulation, for instance, by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States, of cryptocurrencies, change the prospects for Transhuman Coin? Would this be a threat or an opportunity?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, David. And, we're seeing governments all around the world sort of react to the challenge of cryptocurrencies, to their monetary policy, whether it's the power of the US dollar, or in India, we've essentially banned cryptocurrencies. From the SEC's perspective, one of the benefits is that they see it as an opportunity. I mean, they really just want to protect people that are investors and consumers of cryptocurrencies, so that there's these scams that are out there can be mitigated. So if we want more regulation because it creates more certainty around cryptocurrencies within the existing ecosystems, whether it's fintech or with superannuation funds being able to invest in cryptocurrencies, that's a sort of where we'll take this sort of current wave of cryptocurrencies to the next level, because it'll allow more mainstream adoption. At the same time, there is a sort of a looming threat as well, because they could say, well, Binance Smart Chain, any sort of decentralized finance might be banned in the future, because you need things like KYC, know your customer, and anti-money laundering, making sure that the money isn't coming from terrorists and you're not financing terrorists and things like that. So there is that challenge. So from a Transhuman Coin perspective, we want to make sure that what's happening around the regulatory environment is adhered to, and we can actually commit to be compliant across the regulations all around the world. And because we're on Binance Smart Chain, the added benefit is that whatever sort of Binance can do with all their financial powers to make sure that they're compliant with, we can also be supportive as well, because we built on the Binance Smart Chain.
Yes.
And that's lots of opportunities and risks in that sense.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I'm a big advocate of crypto regulation, and same with Binance CEO, who is CZ. A lot of leaders in the crypto industry are actually advocates of regulation, because it will create some level of safety and trust for potential investors.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Charles. And I think it's important to consider also the nature of the regulation. So there can be good, prudent regulation. There can also be thoughtless regulation. And it's important for the regulators to be understanding the industry that they're regulating, because I think a lot of the bad or unnecessarily preemptive regulation of cryptocurrencies stems from regulators who are not educated, who just think, oh, there's this new scary thing called cryptocurrency, and they aren't even steeped in the nuances of it. They just think, well, this is different from what we've seen before. Let's ban it. And hopefully that's not what smart regulators will do. I'm not going to comment on the level of advancement of U.S. securities regulators, but I think we can hope for a good outcome if we continue to have these conversations openly and try to educate the regulators throughout the world. Now, we have a question from Zach Richardson, who asks Peter to expand a bit on proof of work versus proof of stake. He points out some of the costs of Ethereum transactions are around $48 for a $1 NFT. And of course, that is a deterrent for people from purchasing goods or services or artwork via the Ethereum blockchain. So how can this problem be overcome for Transhuman Coin or other tokens on the Binance chain?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question, Zach. And the benefit of Binance Smart Chain is the transaction fees are so much lower. We're talking about less than $1 per transaction, as opposed to something like $48 to buy a $1 NFT, because the Ethereum network is on proof of work. So, these GPU miners out there, they're mining Ethereum by solving all these hashing problems, like Dagger Hashimoto is one of the algorithms, and through that you have to reward the miners for this. And because Ethereum is a very popular network, it's got the biggest developer ecosystem, so there's a lot of sort of heavy transactions going on, and the smart contracts that's happening there, because it's congesting that network. It's making those mining fees, the gas fees, essentially much higher. So that's why Ethereum wants to go to Ethereum 2.0 to become proof of stake. And so proof of stake is, rather than mining the cryptocurrencies, you're staking your portion to say, okay, I'm willing to say this transaction block is correct. This sort of provenance of transactions is correct. And if I'm wrong, I lose my staked interest in that pool. And so, it's sort of like, you're willing to put your money where your mouth is in proof of stake. But the challenge with that is that the whales, the large holders of the cryptocurrencies in proof of stake, have more say, and there's a risk. There's a higher risk that relative to proof of work, that you could have a 51% type of attack, where you have whales hold more than 50% of the total value of the currency in that pool. So there is that sort of, the balancing act of proof of stake. But I think overall, proof of stake is a better solution than proof of work, just because, the more decentralized you are at the outset, the less risk of that 51% attack. And, you don't have these ridiculous sort of energy wasting sort of impact on the environment. And also you have lower transaction fees overall. We've seen networks like Avalanche and, let's say the layer 2 Ethereum solutions already solve this using the proof of stake mechanism. So there are solutions that are out there that are working today, and they're having very low transaction fees. They have proof of stake working. Just a challenge with the Ethereum community is that they have so much technical debt in the history of what they're doing. But Vitalik's roadmap is sort of very clear. And so hopefully by this year, Ethereum will be able to migrate that to Ethereum 2.0. And I'll shout out to the Pulse Chain guys who are doing a great job trying to sort of find a solution in the interim as well.
Yes, and it's interesting, too, that both Vitalik Buterin of Ethereum and Richard Hart of Pulse Chain are major supporters of longevity and transhumanism. They have each donated millions of dollars to SENS strategies for engineered negligible senescence research initiatives. And I just hope in the coming years that money will be able to be put to good use, which it will be if Aubrey de Grey stays in charge of disposing of those funds. So let's hope that that happens. Now, with regard to the issue of whales, it seems to me that Transhuman Coin is trying to solve that problem by distributing various quantities of Transhuman Coin across people and organizations in the transhumanism movement so that no one person or small group of people can have enough of a concentrated holding to really affect the course of the coin in a deleterious way. Rather, if a big decision is made, it's made with the consensus of the stakeholders who have some amounts of Transhuman Coin. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And Charles, do you want to go into more detail around, what we're looking to do, the way that we set it up when it was from the outset, right? There's some like the top listings of the holders, and we're looking to engage them to be part of the leadership as well.
Yeah, we do have a group, which is the top investors group. And the idea is to onboard our top investors on the Transhuman Coin Delaware LLC, making them stakeholders of the project, And that way, we are solving a major problem in the crypto space, which is converting our whales, to partners and not threats. Because what happens in the crypto space is we see whales, that is holders of large amounts of the coin or the token as threats, because you're afraid that if they sell, your charts may move in the negative. But what we're doing at Transhuman Coin is we're creating a sort of partnership with our top investors, and a lot of our top investors are actually members of our scientific advisory board and the management team. So yeah, we have a structure that integrates our top investors into leadership.
Yeah, and that being said as well, the situation isn't ideal, in terms of how these whales are structured. So, in the future, we want to have it sort of like a DAO structure as well. That way we can actually do in a way, a distributed way that's logarithmic, so it can mitigate those sort of distribution issues. The dev wallet is the largest holder, so you'll see that in the top 10 holders list. And the dev wallet essentially will be burnt, like you say, Kennedy, will be going through burning of essentially that represents around 30% of the total market cap. So that's essentially going to be reducing the supply of Transhuman Coin going forward as well. So it's going to have that sort of upward price pressure as well.
Yes, thank you, Charles and Peter. And also thank you to John H. He asks, US dollars still work? Yes, they do. Thank you very much. We will happily accept them to help make more of these kinds of conversations possible. And now I think it would be opportune to ask a question about the burning. So how does the burning work, and is there a logic to the timing of the burns, the way you would structure them for the best results that you intend to achieve?
Yeah. Charles, do you want to answer that one? Or yeah, it's a consistent burn of the dev wallet to a burn address. So yeah, it gets sent to the burn address, and then that's the address that can't be essentially retrieved. And that's how you can see the burning on the Binance Smart Chain scan. But yeah, that's essentially a regular scheduled one.
Okay, sorry, but what's a burning?
It's like taking money and then just lighting on fire.
So basically, with when you're burning tokens, you send a certain amount of tokens to a what they call a burn wallet. So it's usually a wallet where no one has any access to the private keys. So they're taken out of circulation permanently and lost.
Now, will there be some sort of asymptotic limit to the burning? Like if you burn too much of the transhuman coin, then presumably there wouldn't be enough to circulate, or it would become scarce in some sense. So do you anticipate the burning process to have certain limitations that would still enable a robust supply to circulate?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. That's a good point. So over the lifetime, we do expect to burn up to 30% of the supply of transhuman coin.
Yeah. And yeah, this way, and also, sorry, you go, Charles.
Yeah, and we have another strategy also, which includes burning from the dev wallet and burning from the e-store wallet. So when people buy our products with Transhuman Coin, a part of it will be burnt, and that way we'll be taking that Transhuman Coin, those Transhuman Coins, out of circulation and directly out of the former holders' wallets.
All right. Well, thank you for that explanation. So it looks like the burning is kind of a long-term strategic mechanism to help maintain the value of transhuman coin, but it does have that limitation built in to ensure that there's still an ample supply that will circulate. So thank you for clarifying this. Now we have an interesting question for Charles from Ojochogu Abdul. He wonders, do you think a rise in secularism in Africa is a necessary phenomenon for the success of transhumanism on the continent? And I'll also add, Charles, you used to be a pastor, correct?
Yeah. Abdul, yes is the answer. The transition from religion and traditional Africanism to secularism, we are becoming more secular and embracing more of logic than sentiments, religion, and cultures, right? It's contributing to just basic logic, the ability for us to think in scientific ways, And I'm gonna share a bit of my journey because Gennady had mentioned it. I used to be a pastor, and during my days as a pastor, I criticized transhumanism, and I preached against transhumanism because, look, guys, we were taught, that there is what we call the end time, and the Antichrist is gonna come, and the Antichrist would want to emerge as a god, and all of that stuff. So. And that was the kind of teaching that was going around in Africa. And I must say this, actually, it originated from some guys in the US, And so it got sold to us in Africa, and we embraced it. And it became more cultural, because what happens in Africa is we kind of transform new ways of thinking into our culture, like into a culture. So what should have just remained as a religious doctrine ends up becoming a culture, a way of life in Africa, So with the rise of information technology, we are we see more information being distributed via the internet, and many people are having access to information. We are beginning to see a drift or a transition from conspiracy theories and superstitions and religious indoctrination to more logical thinking and questioning, right? And that is very instrumental to the success of transhumanism on the continent and elsewhere in the world. So yeah, secularism is a factor in the success of transhumanism in Africa and across the world.
Yes, thank you very much, Charles, for that answer. And our friend Mike Lazine thinks that the USA can also do with a lot of secularism, especially when certain politicians want to use religion to pass laws. And yes, we have seen some backwards drift, unfortunately, in the United States since the 1990s when I arrived in the US. In the 1990s, religion here was largely seen as a private matter, and people were religiously tolerant. They thought you should have the freedom to worship or not worship as you please, but largely religion and politics were separate. And since that time, unfortunately, there has been an attempted resurgence of essentially efforts to reinsert religion into the public sphere or legislate using religious understandings that were not universalizable into secular principles. I think that might have dwindled a bit since about the middle of the last decade, but it does still remain, unfortunately, a sizable force within American politics. But yes, we in the United States Transhumanist Party, as part of our second core ideal, embrace reason, science, and secular values. So clearly, any place in the world where secular values can be advanced, that is seen as a most welcome development for us in the Transhumanist Party. Now, also, I would like to thank Alan Crowley for his generous donation. Thank you very much. And our friend Andrew Corcoran writes that Charles is a good egg. Well, I think that's quite a compliment. And I want to ask Charles to follow up a bit because your journey is very interesting. You started out as a critic of transhumanism and you absorbed perhaps certain misinterpretations of transhumanism that circulated into Africa from essentially these conspiracy theorist circles in the United States and in the Western world. So what changed your mind? Because I think this is crucial, especially for people who are vocal and outspoken on the issue. It's possible for their minds to change. And you're an example of this. So walk us through the steps in your journey into becoming an advocate of transhumanism.
Thank you, Kennedy, for that question. First of all, like I said, yeah, I used to be a critic of transhumanism and science too, because I was this healing evangelist, right? So we used to hold healing crusades and all of that. And I believe so much that science was limited and God was, my religion could heal and save a lot of people, And that continued for quite. I started preaching at the age of 9 years old. So from 9 years old, I started, evangelizing my religion to people across the world, and I traveled all over the continent and parts of the world, doing that kind of work, And I got sick myself. I got sick, and I had struggled with an autoimmune disorder, and I started looking for solutions. I went from one religious leader to another religious leader, and I found no solution. I studied biochemistry in university, and what religion does is it wipes away whatever science you think you have and just replaces it with conspiracy theories, So, but in my search for a medical solution, I began to reflect back on science, what I know about, the genetics, what I studied about the human body and all of that, cells and all of that. And I think that was the point where I began to realize that there is need to embrace science and question some of the things, especially the testimonies we were fed, in the religious communities. Because what happens is these guys go on mainstream TV and they amplify certain um, testimonies, which most times affect. I'm sorry to say that, but most times there are evidences that most of those testimonies will affect. So a lot of people build their hopes, right, on things that are not real. And my health journey kind of helped me to start embracing science. My adoption of science and embracing of science, made it possible to begin to logically accept the concept of transhumanism. And my first contact, or my first point of adoption of transhumanism was cryonics. Because I just realized that I didn't want my physical body to rot in the grave. I wanted to preserve myself and find a way to somehow get restored. With emerging technologies, and I began to study about cryonics, cryopreservation, and the science of it. And that led me deeper into the science of the brain, the human consciousness, and preserving the consciousness of humans and all of that. So yeah, that was a bit of a journey and a bit of a transition. It wasn't easy. I had moments of withdrawal. I withdrew from friends and everyone around me, and everyone thought I was crazy. I had gone crazy. And if you're a follower on my page, you see that when I post about my journey, you see a lot of people who used to know me, right? I had thousands of followers, as a religious leader. I had thousands of followers from across the world, and they just lost. A lot of them lost faith in me. Like, Charles, you've gone crazy. You've gone crazy. We've seen you do these things. We've seen you preach these things. We've seen you, promote these religious thoughts, over the years since you were a kid, and suddenly you're making a U-turn. Something had happened to you. But actually, what happened to me was that I got back to my senses. So I go back to my senses. That's the summary of my journey: getting back to your senses.
Yes, getting back to your senses. That's excellent, because really, what else is science but a systematic treatment of the evidence of our senses and the application of our rational faculty of methodical experimentation to what our senses observe. So that is a wonderful description, Charles, of your transformation into a leading advocate of transhumanism. And I would like to point out there are some key elements in your story which I think can be generalized further. First of all, there was a major personal triggering event for you, the autoimmune condition that you had, where religious healing didn't offer any answers, but science could offer some answers, and thereby you realize the potency of science. But that's not all that got you into transhumanism, because there was another gateway, so to speak, which is cryonics and the literature around cryonics that has been made available. And I think there can be multiple gateways for multiple people. So for instance, in 2004, the foundational works that led me to become a transhumanist, though I would say I was already predisposed toward it because I promised at the age of 5 that I would dedicate my life to the struggle against death. But what made it seem to me that this was a realistic struggle to win during my lifetime were the writings of Aubrey de Grey, his early descriptions of the Sens approach, as well as the writings of Max More and the philosophy of extropy. And then later on, I also encountered the writings of Ray Kurzweil and The Singularity is Near, which reinforced my understanding of the power of exponential technological progress. And the reason why I mention this is the more gateways we can create for different people with different backgrounds and experiences to relate their experiences to the ideas of transhumanism, the easier it will be for us to get more advocates and more diverse advocates throughout the world, some of whom could become very powerful spokespeople for transhumanism the way that Charles has become. So thank you very much. And I think this is going to be instructive for all of us and for our audience. Now, I would also like to thank Celeste Castaldo for her very generous contribution. And she writes in the YouTube super sticker, "You are amazing." Well, thank you, Celeste. You are amazing as well. And I think this is a great opportunity to turn the floor over to you for your question or comment.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, great. A wonderful presentation from you guys. Excited about the transhumanist coin. So I wanted to ask, I did get a reply in our little private chat, but I was wondering if the Transhuman Coin is a nonprofit and what percentage or amount of the funds from the transhumanism coin are donated towards research or transhumanism projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Celeste. Yeah, so yeah, let's just enter in the chat around Transhuman Coin's currently a Delaware LLC. So yeah, Charles can speak more to that. But yeah, it's not a non-profit as such, but that is something we're looking into, so that if Transhuman Coin receives donations, we can make that tax deductible for our community. But yeah, that's something we're definitely looking into. In the fund wallet currently represents 7% of the total market cap. So that wallet continues to grow with the 2% distribution to the existing holders. And that's how we can continue to have funds to donate to those organizations that support the transhumanism movement. So yeah, that entire fund, we're actually looking to put that entire fund as an incentive prize for the missions of transhumanism, whether it's to solve the aging process as the sort of super longevity pillar, whether it's to be able to achieve the brain-computer interfaces and super intelligence and develop positive, beneficial and benevolent AGI, and then also the third pillar being super well-being, so that no one gets left behind, and we can also achieve I guess a sense of purpose through not just living healthier and longer and more intelligent, but making sure that Maslow hierarchy of needs is attributed to as well. So that entire fund will be like an X prize put up as a total fund, and then in the meantime, for those organizations and project teams that are looking to achieve those missions, we're essentially going to be seed funding them through donations and investments through the fund as well.
Oh, that's super exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And, the more the value grows, so we can actually make the prize even bigger.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. And thank you, Peter, for that answer. And now we have a very interesting comment from our friend Skip Siddiqui, who comments on Charles's story and remarks this is an interesting path to transhumanism. Skip is a former religious Muslim, and he can relate a lot to Charles Owuzi. So thank you very much. And I would also encourage everybody to watch our previous Virtual Enlightenment Salon with Skip Siddiqui, where he talks about his journey as well. And now let's go to Jason Geringer. Jason, please go ahead with your question or comment.
I kind of got a question about, the scams that kind of seem to swirl around any, it's a new technology and a lot of people don't really understand how it works. And so that leaves the door open for people to smooth in and sort of trick people and stuff. I ran into, somebody that was trying to get me to invest in some Bitcoin, and they had their contract said that if I'm living the United States, that because of the rules of the United States, which I didn't figure out which rule that is, but it doesn't let you own any of that. And so if you invest in it, they can essentially just take it because, you're not even legally allowed to have it. So, and, I was wondering if, and in the private chat here, you dropped a link to this laser eyes thing, and I looked at it and it looks awesome because it's something that we could go to and just get through all of the confusion and get some sort of score on these people. I think we should maybe share that link if we possibly can to the laser eyes thing. It looks pretty good.
Okay.
Do you know why that the U.S. has rules on something like that? I never did find out why I wasn't allowed to invest in his thing by law, and I'm wondering if that came from, if there's regulation started already on it.
Yeah.
Or
could be.
What?
I'm not sure. Like, for example,
what do you think?
Yeah, no, there's a whole raft of like regulations that could have prevented you from investing in it. Like, what David Wood might have mentioned around SEC rules, but for example,
there are also state regulations. I know my brother, he could not buy crypto in Texas. So I think Texas and New York, there are state-specific regulations against crypto. So, when I was trying to initially buy some Transhuman Coin, I had a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's all kind of confusing,
Yeah, like for example, Binance. That's if you're in New York, Binance doesn't have a bit license to operate there, so you can't go through the KYC onboarding process to Binance, the exchange, and so you would have to use decentralized exchanges to be able to trade Transhuman Coin if you're in New York or Hawaii. So yeah, I think a lot of the regulation is still catching up to what the other states are doing in the US. But that's not dissimilar to what's happening around the world as well.
Yes, our friend Luis Arroyo, who resides in New York City, points out that he could not buy Transhuman Coin there for a while because of these restrictions that you mentioned, Peter. So I understand Binance is based in China, correct? And there are issues with Americans accessing it from the United States unless you use something like MetaMask. So perhaps could you walk us through some of the logistics just so that people understand what is involved?
Yeah, sure. I think Binance is more like Cayman Islands, which is even dodgier, it sounds like. But I think they operate in each of the jurisdictions legally. So they have Binance US, they have Binance Australia to onboard where the exchange is held. So the exchange really is a market maker. So, any buys and sells they facilitate. So the way to not use these centralized exchanges is to use decentralized exchanges like PancakeSwap, which is a Binance Smart Chain decentralized exchange. And what they do is they make automated market making without the necessary need to have a centralized body. So to use something like PancakeSwap or something like Swift Blockchain, which is the more sort of versatile solution we have on our website, you would need to have either a MetaMask or a Trust wallet. So this is your gateway to Web3. You might have heard of Web3 and the cryptocurrency world. But this wallet means that it's self-custodial. Like you have to make sure you look after this wallet, the secret phrases, the seed phrases, and your passwords, by yourself to make sure you don't lose that seed phrase. Make sure you keep your private keys only to yourself. You can't imagine how many times we've had to get on the phone and help people set up MetaMask and make sure they don't give you the seed phrase. It's like, no, I don't want that. It's okay. You can keep that somewhere safe, and don't share your private keys with anyone. But it's a pretty straightforward process to set up a MetaMask. So what you have is this little fox at the corner of your browser. So you can identify when you're on a website that is compatible with Web3, such as PancakeSwap. And what you'll need to do is transfer in things like Binance Coin into your MetaMask and set it up for the Binance Smart Chain to swap it essentially with Transhuman Coin. But yeah, if you have existing cryptocurrencies in your MetaMask or Trust wallet, you can swap that for Transhuman Coin today. So you can just go to our website, transhumancoin.finance, and you'll be able to scroll to the bottom, and you'll be able to select cryptocurrency you currently hold. Doesn't matter what network it's on, you can swap that for Transhuman Coin directly.
Yes, thank you for that explanation, Peter. And indeed, it is quite a technological education as well in the functioning of Web 3.0 if one tries to acquire Transhuman Coin. And as you pointed out, you have a good walkthrough on your website. I want to disclose that I am one of the individuals who received a modest donation of Transhuman Coin, and it was a bit of an education for me to obtain it as well. Fortunately, I had the help of Art Ramon, who also sent me a step-by-step explanation about how to get a MetaMask wallet, how to link it up to the Binance Smart Chain and provide the address for receiving the Transhuman Coin. And ever since then, I've been monitoring my Transhuman Coin balance. And interestingly enough, I started out with about 218,000 Transhuman Coins. Now I have 224,000 Transhuman Coins, a bit more than that, actually. And this has been evidence that I've been receiving small portions of that 2% amount that accrues to existing holders. And of course, I plan to hold for a much longer time period because I see myself as one of these decentralized stakeholders who is going to make sure that this currency continues to have value. And I would encourage people to become small stakeholders of the sort. You don't have to put in a lot of money, but the more of us there are, and the more of us who are committed to holding, the more we essentially minimize this theoretical concern about whales. So what we don't want is, say, one billionaire sweeping in and buying 51% of the supply of Transhuman Coin. I'd rather have a lot of us in the transhumanist community holding small amounts, and I'm going to be one of them. And I think it's important for these people to also be transhumanists and have a commitment to the movement and the success of the movement as well. Now, I think security is always a concern for anybody involved in the cryptocurrency space, particularly because the technology is so novel. And sometimes, as Jason pointed out, there are less than fully scrupulous actors in this realm. We all know of some stories. So David Wood wonders, what are the risks of Transhuman Coin reserves being hacked or stolen in the way that has been reported for certain other tokens? He points out there was a BBC headline in April 2021, hackers steal $600 million in major cryptocurrency heists. So what is there to protect the Transhuman Coin reserves from a similar fate? And I know Charles, of course, has a background in cybersecurity, so he has thought about this. What are some of the safeguards that you can tell us about?
Yeah, thank you so much, David, for that question. First of all, the April 2021 hack was the attack was against a centralized exchange, which holds a huge amount of tokens, Now with our projects, right? We're not an exchange, We are smart contracts on the Binance Smart Chain, and if you study the Binance Smart Chain closely, you will discover that it's one of the most secured networks on the blockchain. So our security, the first layer of our security, of the Transhuman Coin security, is built, or it rotates around the security of the Binance Smart Chain. Now we'll move a bit higher to a layer 2 security, for the Transhuman Coin, which has to do with the wallets, the trust fund wallet, the holders of these wallets are not made public, which helps to protect the identities of the holders and thus the wallets themselves. We have other measures to protect most of our whales. We educate them on cybersecurity, and we have a cybersecurity response team who work 24/7, to ensure that our smart contracts, our holders, and our top investors especially are protected from criminal hackers. So I think of all projects that I've been part of and all that I know of in the cryptocurrency space, Transhuman Coin is, and I say this with every confidence in public, is the only project that actually spends more time and resources in educating the community on cybersecurity, and that is because of our background, in cybersecurity. So I'm pretty sure that with what I've explained about our security being tied to the Binance Smart Chain and the other layers of security we've implemented, the buyer out there or the holder out there should be confident that some of the hacks we've had in the past may not apply to the Transhuman Coin. And that does not actually mean that there won't be cases of holders being misled, in a phishing attack to click on, false or fake links, which would somehow take out tokens from their wallets. And that is why, like I said, we are spending time, we are spending resources in educating our community, about such attacks and how to protect themselves from phishing attacks. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that answer, Charles. And I'm glad that you mentioned the education component. I think that's crucial because a lot of the security vulnerabilities are the result of user error. It's just like with the phishing attacks that you mentioned. These happen in corporations as well. These happen with regard to US dollars, or this happens with regard to breaches of sensitive information. And the way the phishers work is that they pretend to be a trusted party. And if someone isn't careful, then they'll mistake a communication from a phisher for a communication from a trusted party. Sometimes they can disguise themselves as your coworker or your boss, and you have to look at their email address to figure out that this is actually coming from outside of your organization. Or sometimes they'll call you on the phone and try to get sensitive information. So some of the vulnerabilities are very much human rather than IT related. And that's important to keep in mind, that we as individuals have to be vigilant no matter what our roles are, and whether we are in the cryptocurrency space or just in the regular working world these days. Because
right. You could have the best security in the world, but if you just give them your password, well, it's kind of hard to defend against that, But sorry, go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So we have an interesting question from Zach Richardson. He wants the Transhuman Coin team to tell us if they plan on reaching out to entities like iTrust Capital or Alto Crypto IRA or similar organizations for those who want to store cryptocurrencies in an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. He says these are entities that are really wanting to hold, or HODL, which stands for Hold On to Dear Life. That's an acronym that represents a very long-term intent to hold. So are you familiar with any of these kinds of, let's say, institutional investors who might also be interested in Transhuman Coin? And as an extension of that question, if they are interested, how do you prevent them from becoming whales as well? Because if they're too interested, they might buy up half of the supply.
That's a good question. I mean, with the way that, first of all, it's a great initiative to have these institutional investors come on board with cryptocurrency, because it does legitimize the entire space. We're seeing that happening in the US with the exchange-traded funds, with Bitcoin, and also Bitcoin futures. But essentially, that they're going to have Bitcoin spot ETFs for these superannuation funds, these IRAs to invest in. But also with the way that the liquidity pool works for Transhuman Coin, the more that you try to buy, the less you'll be able to get, because of the dynamic sort of nature of the liquidity pool. Because liquidity pool only represents, like, say, for example, a certain percentage of the total number of transhuman coins out in the supply. And the more you try to buy it, the price will go up. So essentially, it prevents you from buying, say, 50% of the total supply at any one point in time. Yeah, so it's kind of like an exponential curve that keeps going up. But also, it's definitely something we want to happen, for people to be able to invest long-term into Transhuman Coin, hold it on the balance sheet of whether it's their superannuation funds, because ultimately, we are all about, a long-term future, that positive future of transhumanism, to help people live longer and healthier. And, at this rate, the retirement age might get extended indefinitely if people live longer and longer. So your return on investment will grow as a result. It does question the sort of validity of these super funds, whether when they mature or not ever in the future. But it's definitely something we're looking into.
That's a really good point. Good point there, man. If we're gonna live forever, then holding on to coin will really
and they say retirement is death as well. So
So we've heard from Jason, and he has a question. He has heard that when some people buy Transhuman Coin, they then identify as being transhumanist, but there have been some concerns raised that perhaps some people who buy Transhuman Coin might not be aware of the larger philosophy. They might have just heard of Transhuman Coin and thought, oh, this is interesting, and they bought a little bit. Is there a possibility to have education for onboarding? If you are a holder of Transhuman Coin, then could there be some encouragement for you to read more on the philosophy or watch more videos, essentially have that gateway be a bit more prominent, so that we can turn these people into transhumanists who really understand what our movement is about?
Yeah, definitely. And, the white paper that Charles put together essentially is the first point of call for the onboarding of buying Transhuman Coin. And the white paper sets out the philosophy of transhumanism. And we want to add to that, I think from the last discussion that David Wood was on, there's discussion around putting some of those vital foresight concepts into the white paper. So the next version continues to get iterated. And it's also inviting the Transhuman Coin community to these USTP enlightenment salons to sort of continue to get updates from the community around what's happening in transhumanism. But I know the team's got some great ideas around that as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And hopefully all of our viewers can see the link to the Transhuman Coin white paper here on the screen. Please download it, please read it. And if you are a Transhuman Coin holder, we invite you to participate in our virtual enlightenment salons every week, every Sunday at 1 p.m. U.S. Pacific time, which I understand could be pretty late in some parts of the world, but you can also watch the video recordings on YouTube. They are here permanently, and you can post in the YouTube comments, you can spread the videos, and we would welcome you to be a part of our community. This is one of the benefits of being a Transhuman Coin holder or hodler, whichever term you prefer. So I think this is a good opportunity to bring in this comment from Zach Richardson. There was a large period of time in human history when currency itself was a new technology, and those with large estates were using coins, while the poor traded chickens and vegetables, essentially used barter. And it seems right now there's a bit of a gap in terms of knowledge and awareness and education about cryptocurrencies. Zach also points out there is a barrier to entry into the crypto space, and that there's some knowledge work to be done. So anybody can potentially download the applications, get a MetaMask wallet, But to a lot of the populace, for instance, something like Bitcoin means having to do heavy thinking and understanding. And in the meantime, they are deterred because on the news, primarily, there's negative coverage of hacks and other scams. And people are afraid that if they don't know enough, they'll fall victim to it. Now, I think right now it would be a great idea if education on cryptocurrencies, formal courses, online courses, or even courses in schools were more widely available. And certainly education in that area would be more useful to people than education in a lot of content that is being taught these days, which is frankly questionable to say the least. But what do you think would be some positive steps that can be taken to bridge that knowledge gap so that more people can be aware of cryptocurrencies, how they work, the different types of cryptocurrencies, distinctions like proof of work versus proof of stake, how the various chains work like Ethereum and Binance, how you get to participate on one of those chains? Because I think these kinds of logistical questions, if people knew more about how to answer them, they would have more confidence and a better ability to protect themselves from hacks.
Yes, that's a great question, Zach and Kennedy. So just wanted to point out that for Transhuman Coin, we actually have a lot of first-time crypto holders. So people who have never done crypto before. We've actually onboarded a lot of people who are new to crypto. So we've actually spent a lot of time, our team has spent a lot of time just educating people on how do they actually start on crypto, and especially on Transhuman Coin. So the basics, like how to get a wallet so that you can hold crypto, where to get crypto, not just Transhuman Coin, but just crypto in general. Like you have your DEXs, your SEXs, which is centralized exchanges, but also around crypto safety. So being able to protect the crypto that you have, and also staying safe online. So like Charles has said before, that we do spend a lot of time educating our community on how, more so than other crypto projects, on how to stay safe, but also just what the things that you need to understand around crypto. And I'll probably pass it on to Peter and Charles to give some resources.
Charles, did you want to go first?
Oh, you go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. Yes, and Elise has actually set up this thing called Future DAO that sort of helps a lot of people educate around understanding cryptocurrencies and in the Discord server. So yeah, go check that out as well. There's also Binance Academy, which is a great sort of structured course to learn about the 101s of cryptocurrency, how to stay safe, like Elise said, but also setting up things like your MetaMask and your Trust Wallet, and interacting on the centralized exchanges like Binance. So Binance Academy is a great resource. And there's a whole raft of sort of resources you can keep up to date on all that's happening in the crypto community. So there's, Cointelegraph that's constantly got the updates from the news. And there's great podcasts like the Decrypt Media. There's also, YouTube channels around, say, the Crypto Guy. Essentially there's a whole bunch of really good sources out there to get the 101s explainer videos of cryptocurrency. And Transhuman Coin has also made some videos around how to buy Transhuman Coin. So you'll be able to find that out in our Telegram. And we do have a Discord as well. If you go to the Telegram first, so we'll be able to point to all our other groups. So Telegram's kind of like a central point, and then the Discords and the relevant resources are all through the pinned messages in the Telegram, including our lovely Rosebot that Andrew Corcoran has set up as well.
All right. Thank you, Peter. And
yeah, I was just thinking, if you got a Discord, we could set it up to where your announcements will go right to our general channel if you want, or something. Because I'm sure most transhumanists in the party are going to be interested in whatever's going on with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks, sir. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks, Jason.
All right. Thank you. And we have an interesting question from David Wood. He says it seems counterintuitive that 2% of the value of each transhuman coin transaction is subject to a kind of value-added tax to add funds to central pools, but then burning seemingly destroys some of that pool. So how would you reconcile those types of activities, the 2% transaction fee essentially will add to the pool, but then some of that gets burned. So what's the unifying logic of these actions?
Yeah, and at the I guess I can have a go at it, Charles. But the liquidity pool is not what gets burnt, because we want to have more liquidity and make that a larger and larger portion of the total value of Transhuman Coin. So the liquidity pool, the 2% that goes to that doesn't get burnt. What does get burnt is the dev wallet component. So the starting wallet, which minted the Transhuman coins, that's actually the number one wallet. So we want to dilute that to a lower amount through the burning mechanism. And that's how we actually distribute that more broadly to the community members. So that's the sort of the concept around that sort of burning mechanism and the liquidity pool.
Yeah, and secondly, the TSC does not get added to the liquidity pool. Actually, it gets converted to BNB automatically by the smart contract and then sent to the liquidity pool.
Yes, thank you for that explanation, Peter and Charles. So the 2% of each transaction goes to a different pool from the pool from which the burns are happening. I think that's quite helpful to understand. And now we have a question from Akin Rami Nuruddin, who wonders, what are the roadmap highlights for Transhuman Coin in 2022? Any major plans for this year?
Yeah, Charles, you want to talk about the immediate ones? Oh, he's on mute. No, he's still on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, we do have some great plans for 2022. Already, we've had some great success in executing our roadmap. I mean, in 2021, just a highlight of what we plan to do this year. We are going to bridge to the Ethereum network. We are going to implement the DeFi lending function. I mean, the protocol of our project. We're looking at implementing the Transhuman Coin lottery through a partnership with Ethereum, and already we've integrated with Swift, which allows our users to swap over 250 tokens to our Transhuman Coin. And in 2022, we do plan to finally moon. So
yeah,
the rest will be highlighted by Peter.
Yeah, no, it's I was just saying the e-commerce store, probably the immediate ones.
Yeah.
With the freelancer.com type service. So that'll bring a lot of utility to Transhuman Coin immediately. A whole raft of partnerships with Chainlink around the Transhuman Lottery. We're using that API, and we'll get a lot of marketing through Chainlink as well. And Ethereum is an organization that essentially facilitates data sharing and data monetization by the holders of Transhuman Coin. So, the e-commerce store will be selling medical devices, and those devices will generate data. And we want to make sure that data is kept securely and privately for our Transhuman Coin holders, but also give them the option to monetize that, to actually help them, be able to have this quantified self and actually get use cases out of that data. So Ethereum is a platform, a data DEX, if you like, to enable that to happen. So yeah, that's something we're exploring in 2022. And same with the virtual labs that's suggested by Art. That's something that would be decentralized through the virtual labs across the universities and the research organizations around the world.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing those plans with us. Now we have another question from Tufik, who wonders about the DAO aspect of this, and DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So what is the relationship of any DAOs or forthcoming DAOs to Transhuman Coin and the organization behind Transhuman Coin?
Yeah, sure. I'll let Elise speak a bit more about DAOs in general, but in terms of where we want to head, eventually we want to have that DAO mechanism so that the governance of the fund is decentralized. So that currently it's overseen and approved by a scientific advisory board. We want the community to be empowered to do that. But yeah, go ahead, Elise.
Yes, absolutely. So potentially in the Transhuman Coin roadmap, we may be looking at some sort of DAO structure. This isn't confirmed yet, but it is something that we are exploring as a team and as a community. So I'm passionate about DAOs, and I suppose Peter, the one that Peter mentioned, is just a separate DAO, no relationship to Transhuman Coin, but a personal project for myself and other people in the community around impact.
All right. Thank you, Elise. And now we have an interesting question from Yaming615, and he references a failed cryptocurrency called SafeMoon, where SafeMoon essentially did have a similar mechanism for rewarding people who held on to it, but then it collapsed because I think it wasn't linked to anything real, unlike Transhuman Coin, which has the resources of the transhumanist community behind it and multiple stakeholders in the transhumanist community. The creators of SafeMoon, essentially they were the whales and they did a rug pull. So what's different about Transhuman Coin so that we can assuage some of those concerns?
Yeah, number one, that liquidity pool is 100% locked. So you can actually go to DX sale and go to our website to see that it's fully locked. So that prevents that rug pull mechanism. And SafeMoon, the contract was, essentially, something that was useful in the tokenomics. But yeah, again, those whales essentially ruined it. So it's about the governance as a community of how we can drive this to make sure it has a positive future for this project, especially around the leadership and the community that we on board. Because yeah, SafeMoon really is like sort of like a pump and dump type cryptocurrency without any real mission other than to increase the price. So yeah, really trying to apply a transhumanist lens to take the best of all the sort of things that are out there without the poor intentions is sort of how we can succeed in the future. But yeah, that's essentially I think V2, the future of where we can do, whether it's DAOs or airdrops into the new coin, will continue to increase and iterate on the smart contracts to make it future proof and something that drives towards that mission.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And now here's an interesting question from Jason Mallory. He wonders, is there a chance that the transhumanist community could be mapped, observed, or actioned upon through its adoption of this digital currency? And I think what he's thinking of is, for instance, where do the transactions originate from? Can we use this as a way to gauge where transhumanism is growing, where there's more interest in the movement, even beyond the coin, because presumably people who are aware of transhumanism also are more likely to be aware of Transhuman Coin and vice versa.
Yeah, there's so much data and analytics you can do because on the blockchain, all the transactions are visible. So Binance Smart Chain, there's a BSC scan, kind of like Ether scan, where every transaction on Transhuman Coin is visible, and you'll be able to actually run analytics on where those funds are going, to the provenance of where those wallets are. But I think in the future, it would be even better to use something like proof of humanity, where you can actually identify the wallet addresses to every individual, and it's proven human to human type of transactions. And that way you can see how fast the community is growing, who are the people behind those wallet addresses, and which organizations are those transactions going to sort of fully map and do the provenance of those transactions for Transhuman Coin. But yeah, that would be a really exciting project. And companies like Chainalysis have done that with existing chains and, for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, to fully map out who are the holders. But yeah, Transhuman Coin will definitely be able to have a lot more light on it through this analytics.
Yes, thank you, Peter. And we have a comment from Your360, who writes, "These guys are scientists, no comparison with SafeMoon." And indeed, I think that's the purpose of the Scientific Advisory Board, as well as other thought leaders in the transhumanist community being involved. This is a mission-driven cryptocurrency, and the aspect of aiding research organizations that help in the development of medical technology, that's worth it by itself, I would say, in establishing this mechanism, just as Doggy on Mars, which has been mentioned, has been used now as a charity cryptocurrency because our friend David Goebel of the Methuselah Foundation has pledged to be a good steward of that coin. And we, of course, had an excellent virtual enlightenment salon with him in September as well. Now, our foreign ambassador in Togo, Siba Chamuza, wonders, wouldn't it be more interesting to present transhumanism as a universal approach based on the concrete, which proposes a new world where the human being will be more fulfilled and freed from suffering? And I think what he wants to know is whether some of this messaging could be worked into the materials and the content generated by the Transhuman Coin organization.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's more iterations on the white paper, on the super well-being side, because things like universal basic income, that's something that can be generated through your registration through Proof of Humanity, and that's a collaboration we want to make happen between Transhuman Coin and Proof of Humanity to empower every Transhuman Coin holder to also receive universal basic income and vice versa. So this is sort of alleviating ensuring the basic needs are met by the community. So, whether it's food, water, shelter on the Maslow, and then facilitating the social connections in the metaverse, but ultimately having that transhumanism vision and the mission around helping others transcend, self-actualize through this sort of coin. Because, you can, as an organization, receive Transhuman Coin as a donation, but you can also pay it forward to help other organizations flourish. So that pay it forward type mechanism is how we can grow as a community.
Wow, that's really sweet. That's really that's really cool. Pay it forward. That's the idea. It's going to be pretty hard for them to be like, it won't work. And when we've been doing it for 2 years or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the fact is, organizations whom we value and whose work we support in our movement have already received donations of Transhuman Coin, and the value of those donated amounts has risen quite precipitously since they received them. So this is a good sign, and we hope that this will continue in the future as adoption of Transhuman Coin increases as well. Jason, did you want to follow up?
Yeah, one more. When you buy a Transhuman Coin, can you specify I want it to support like this project over here or that project, or is it how's that work?
You could do it in there. Oh yeah, see right now you just one for one, you just buy a Transhuman Coin, but you can go into the Telegram community and actually vote for the projects that we donate to. So that's sort of like a community poll. But yeah, Charles has got some other ideas as well in the future with the DAOs. But that's sort of how we're currently doing it.
All right, thank you. And we are coming up on the conclusion of our Virtual Enlightenment Salon today. So I would like to give everyone involved with Transhuman Coin a chance to make some brief closing remarks. And let's start with Art Ramon with regard to his thoughts.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about the direction we're taking with partnering or investing with companies like GoGoTech Wheelchair. Definitely, I'd like to throw them some ideas on how to turn this or go from wheelchair to transformable exoskeleton. To get to a point where we're beyond the wheel, but still utilize the wheel. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in going in that direction.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Art Ramon. And indeed, helping mobility through technology is quite a noble and worthwhile endeavor. Now let us go to Elise.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to our 13,000 hodlers, Transhuman Coin hodlers, and especially to our Transhuman Coin collective. So, the other crypto projects have their army, but we have our collective, and they're our really passionate members of our community. And they've actually set up this group, and just all on their own initiative, they set up this group, which was really around how they could market Transhuman Coin to their networks and the wider community. And they did it all themselves. It's their idea. And they started this ad group initially, what was supposed to be an ad group that they wanted to pitch their own funds into. And so they could, create some ads or get an influencer on board. And so I just wanted to mention this because this is in relation to an earlier question around DAOs and if there was any relationship with DAOs in Transhuman Coin. Well, there actually is. So Andrew Corcoran, who's part of our dev team, has actually helped this collective, our Transhuman Coin collective group, set up a DAO of some sorts where they can actually, I think there's about 50 or so people in there right now. So Andrew has helped set up basically a DAO structure for them to put forward some proposals and to vote on these, and then also have a way where they can pool funds. So basically that is the foundations of a DAO that just evolved organically within our community, our really passionate community. So there is some DAO of sorts that has evolved organically, but I just really wanted to give a shout out to our awesome community, just how empowered they feel. And I really feel like this is very unique. And I haven't actually seen a lot of this happen to other crypto projects. So thanks to everyone. Thanks to all the Transhuman Coin hodlers.
Yes, and thank you, Elise. I think it's crucial for this kind of active and passionate community to emerge to render Transhuman Coin and indeed any sort of effort a success, like the U.S. Transhumanist Party and our virtual enlightenment salons. We're really grateful for our engaged audience, and our friend Daniel Twett writes that he likes mission-driven assets, and the DAOs also represent a new kind of mission-driven asset that enables more decentralized stakeholder advantaging. So thank you for that comment, Daniel. And now let's go to Dr. Charles Owuzi for his closing statement.
Thank you so much, Gennady, and thank you to fellow panelists. And my closing remark would be first to the USTP. It is important that the USTP produces the next FDA directors and policymakers and people who will shape the pharmaceutical and biotech industries in the US, because what happens in the US resonates across the world. And the passion or the mission of Transhuman Coin is to contribute economically to empowering the USTP, the Science Party in Australia, and other transhumanist movements and communities to place the right thinking people and scientific minded people in the right positions to effect the kind of change that would help in evolving humanity. So to the USTP, to the Transhuman Coin community, to Transhumanism Australia, and the Futurist community in London, it's a great work, and we must do it together. They said, together we stand, and divided we fall. So it's unity to the Transhumanism community, and it's great season for success for our dreams and visions. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Together we stand. Thank you very much, Charles, and thank you to Elise for your good words as well. And now, Peter, what do you have to say in the last minute of our virtual enlightenment salon? We will give you the last word.
Oh, no, thank you so much, Kennedy, and the team and the panelists and all the transhumanists out there. And thank you for our Transhuman Coin community. This is the most excited I've ever been of my sort of transhumanist career over the last 7 to 8 years. It feels like we found product market fit between the financial incentives and transhumanism as a movement, but we feel like we're growing at the fastest rate as a community right now. And I just want to thank everyone again for your support. And I look forward to keep you guys posted on our sort of roadmap and the updates that we'll be having throughout the years.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Peter. And we are quite looking forward to what 2022 has in store for Transhuman Coin and for the progress of the transhumanist movement. Thank you to all of our attendees. We've had a great discussion among the audience members. We've had great contributions from our panelists and our guests. And until next time, every Sunday at 1 p.m. U.S. Pacific time, 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern time, live long and prosper.